Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for coming today. Just a reminder that the QR code at the end, if you can scan that, you'll get your CPD points. So welcome everybody here this afternoon. My name is Ruth Supple. I'm the Senior External Communications Manager for RS, and I'd like to introduce John and Ryan Plummer. John Barnacle-Bowd, I should say, and Ryan Plummer.
Yeah, good afternoon everyone. John Barnacle-Bowd. I'm the VP for Global Environment, Health and Safety at RS Group.
Good afternoon everyone. Yeah, I'm Ryan Plummer. I'm the Senior Director of RS Safety Solutions. So I've been within the distribution sector for around 20 years, so it's a pleasure to be with you today.
So today we're here to discuss RS's highly anticipated 2020-24 Health and Safety Report, Striving for Excellence, which has just been launched. So my first questions are for you, John. Our report tells us most businesses are confident in the capabilities of their EHS teams and the wider health and safety culture. But given the continuing high levels of workplace accidents, could this confidence be misplaced?
I don't think confidence is misplaced. We have our health and safety guys on site to provide competent advice to the management team. But how often do we hear that the management team don't listen or they're not engaged in safety? So I think health and safety teams should have a voice within the management on the sites or within those businesses. Also think about competence of health and safety professionals outside of the core skills, like risk assessment and so on and so forth. Think about leadership skills for those guys. How do we get our health and safety guys to have a common voice with other members of the leadership teams? So I think it's not just about safety, it's about having a voice on that management team as well.
Yeah, understood. Thank you, John. So Ryan, why do you think there is disparity between the confidence in EHS capabilities and the perceived attitude towards managing it effectively? Are there any specific factors you believe are having an impact here?
So I think at the heart of this it comes down to culture. So you could have the best policies and processes in place to protect people, but if you don't have a safety culture and a compliance to adhering to those policies, it becomes very, very difficult. So, I think it's important that the health and safety topic is very high on the agenda, and that safety culture, it starts at the top of an organisation and is embedded all the way through.
Yeah. So now we're going to move to our second discussion topic, which is business strategy and compliance. So John, when looking at these stats and the clear difference in the importance of accident prevention and the reporting of accidents, what do you think is happening here? And is there a reluctance by people to measure accident rates? And if so, why?
I think there's a few points here really, isn't there? If you're not measuring it, you're not managing it. You wouldn't do it with finance, would we? So no. Finance is you measure finance to death. Why aren't we doing that with health and safety? I think we've got to also look at the right metrics for the business, but also think about why we're not measuring. Is there, are people frightened to report accidents? Is there a blame culture on site? It's got to be blame free. You've got to have, the teams on site have got to have trust in the management that if an accident's been reported, we're actually going to do something about it. We're going to investigate it, get to the root cause, fix the problems, and actually improve from there. If there's an underlying current there, why we're not measuring anything, you've got to ask yourself, well, why haven't you?
Yeah.
That's the main thing, I think.
What about businesses? Is there any support for businesses out there who are operating at a more immature level?
I think, there's plenty of associations you can join. There's many of them here today. Connect on LinkedIn to other professionals. Massive network of people out there. There's people in the audience, health and safety people. Start networking, talk to peers, join organisations, join IARSM, IOSH. Loads of places for information just to help there. Yeah. Just don't be frightened to ask.
Yeah. Thank you, John. So Ryan, what do you think? How do you think organisations improve their use of KPIs to better understand the performance of their health and safety strategies?
So I think firstly, that have as many KPIs as you can measure that make sense. To John's point, I think it's your reference point. Then the second part is around continuous improvement, like we would do in any process, in any part of our business. So monitor those KPIs, review those KPIs, and use it to drive improvements all the way across your organisation. So KPIs, continuous improvement, and for me, that's how you become more effective at, reducing risk within an organisation.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. So we're moving on to our third topic now, PPE. So Ryan, I'm coming to you first this time. When tackling the issue of counterfeit products, what do business and supply partners do to avoid costly procurement mistakes? And what's the real impact of using counterfeit or substandard products, particularly in manufacturing?
Yeah, so I guess I'll start with the impact. If you're using counterfeit or substandard PPE, you can't be guaranteed that it's offering the right levels of protection or any protection at all for that matter. And let's not forget, PPE is the last line of defence in many cases. So, there is real risk of injury and, in first, death also. Some of the statistics you covered off at the start. From an organisational standpoint, you've got lawsuits and fines and potential imprisonment. So the implications are significant. It's quite interesting. We've got the stand over there, BSIF. I always look at them as a flagship, really. So if you're looking to make a procurement decision, is a manufacturer, is a supplier or distributor a registered partner of the BSIF? From that perspective, you're going to minimise a lot of that risk because you can be confident in the conversation and your advice you're receiving from those organisations. And equally, through the audit process, that the product's going to be compliant and therefore protect the wearers against whatever application it's protecting against. Within RS, we also go, I guess, a step further. We work with other third parties where we're, actually looking at the full supply chain to ensure that we've got, an ethical supply route to market of genuine products. So, there are, information sources out there, and I would encourage everyone to make sure that they're tapping into them.
Thanks, Ryan. So as we touched on, sustainability is on everyone's agenda these days, and health and safety professions are not immune to the growing significance of ensuring sustainable goals are met. So John, how can health and safety professionals continue to deliver on the BAU while striving for more sustainable practices?
I think there's some health and safety professionals out there that may not or may also have environment as part of their remit. It seems like you're a double hatter, so you get the environment piece as well. Is that different to sustainability? Probably not, but it's how we connect, how you speak to different people in the business to make that work. If we think specifically about PPE and we're making decisions on buying PPE, the report was really fascinating for me, where it talks about everybody would want it, but we don't make many decisions to actually buy it. Are the people answering the report from the health and safety perspective, but are the buyers also included in that decision-making process? So when we're specifying a product that we would want as part of a risk assessment, for example, do the buyers always go for the cheapest option, which may not be the sustainable option? Are they just looking at the price on the page? They're not thinking of the whole life cycle of that product. So it's about engaging with the buyers in organisations and making sure that we're getting the right products that can be longer term for us and also hit some of the sustainability credentials we may want if we're going for third-party certification. There's an organisation next to us there, they've got EcoVadis Platinum, which is great, and we've got that at RS too, but we've got it because of some of our other pieces that we've got in there. It's not just about health and safety and environment, it's about buyers, it's about sales. We've got a whole holistic approach to sustainability, and that's the way it's got to be, I think.
Yeah, and it's only going to continue, isn't it, the issue of sustainability.
Yeah.
And finally, a topic that's worthy of its own seminar, which actually we are in fact hosting here tomorrow, women's workwear and PPE. 82% said in the report more needs to be done in this space, yet only 1% say it's important when it comes to making a purchase. So I'm going to ask you both this time, can you share some thoughts on this huge disparity in what should be done versus what's actually happening when focusing on women's PPE?
Me to go first?
Go ahead, Ryan.
Leave me with the easy one. So I think, quite startling statistics actually. So, I think firstly there needs to be a recognition, and I think I'll use construction as an example. previously male-dominated industries are evolving, and we're seeing more and more females coming into the workplaces. We know through RS the volume of engineers, female engineers that are now migrating through into workplaces, which is fantastic. I think we talk about PPE as a last line of defence. So to be wearing unisex footwear and garments that are ill-fitting is a risk, and potentially very dangerous to the wearer. So I think from a personal point of view, I would like to see more done around legislation and more done around policies within organisations that almost mandate the procurement of female PPE.
Yeah, thank you. How about you, John? Have you got any thoughts around this?
Well, I actually spoke to somebody here today, not in this room, but earlier on, and they were a female and they were looking at PPE, and they found one stand that was selling or providing a product display of PPE, and it was a lady small. But she said, well, I want something that actually fits me. So we're not all small, we're different sizes, but yep. I think there's 3 pieces for me that you've got to make it right for female PPE is 1, make it available, 2, have it fit for purpose, and 3, have it cost effective.
Yeah.
And that's as easy as it gets.
Yeah. Again, it's a topic, isn't it, that's kind of come to the fore more, it's been talked about more. We kind of, really want to, we're involved in this conversation. As I say, we've got a seminar here tomorrow, so I hope people can come along and listen to that as well. So I want to say a huge thank you to John and Ryan for helping bring our report to life and for sharing your expertise in response to our findings. I hope we have some time for questions now. So has anybody got any questions? Oh, yes.
One of the things that you were talking about right at the start was people saying we have a mature system, but accident reporting doesn't always tell us the whole story. And for me, it's that difference between work as designed, which we all work on, and work as actually delivered. And accident rates will show you the difference between what should be happening and what actually happens. And you guys touched on that no blame, honesty. How do you get people to really tell you what's really happened? And it's so interesting because no blame hardly ever exists because it has to be true all the way up the line. And in some places it just won't exist. So for me, I think our huge challenge is to get people to talk to us honestly about what really happens and make sure they don't get sacked immediately afterwards.
Yeah.
So that someone else will tell us the next time. But it's also that investigation, isn't it? It's never them. It's usually us. It's usually the system. It's hardly ever them. So thank you for that.
Thank you. So that culture of fear, maybe, that's in some workplaces. John, do you want to sort of...
There is that, isn't there? And when on some sites, you go into some sites and they say 328 days without an accident, which is a fantastic stat. It's brilliant. But if you have an accident and there's a bonus or an incentive for hitting 350 days, are you really going to report that accident? You're probably not, because you're going to ruin it for everybody. But I'm anti those signs. Report it by all means, but don't have it displayed and have that innate pressure for everybody not to report to keep people safe. It's about peer pressure, it's about safety, it's about culture. You could have your own seminar on it really, couldn't you, just talking about those pieces. But I think it comes about, I read somewhere recently that the only metric you should measure is trust. I haven't worked out how you do that yet, but I think it's an interesting one if you do, and you can bottle that one up. So, yeah, okay.
On the subject of PPE, what's your opinions on PPE sizes? There's a huge gap in the market for ladies' PPE, but there's also problems in the market for people of peculiar shapes and sizes, whether they are male or female.
Yeah.
I've spent the whole of my life vertically challenged, and PPE trousers that actually cover the whole of your feet really aren't very safe. Yeah. Your opinions, please.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a really good point because bodies of all shapes and sizes. I think when we talk about PPE, it's important that we've got that end-to-end coverage. The best thing that I've seen in recent times, we actually hosted a ladies' PPE event where we brought together manufacturers and and customers, and we discussed specifically the topic around ladies' PPE on that occasion. But the important thing that stems from it is that if you're working with your procurement team, however you're procuring those products, it's about a conversation. I think it's about understanding what is in the marketplace. From an RS perspective, we have relationships with all of the majority of the manufacturers you see around, and we are able to work with those manufacturers to satisfy certain requirements. So I'm happy to take your details down after this and see if we can make sure we've got some trousers that are nice and tidy and don't drag on the floor. But I think we are quite conscious when we launch products into the range, for example, where we want to make sure that we're trying to cater for those sort of extreme sizes, not just the obvious sizes that fit the majority of the public, I guess.
Hello there. I just think it's very disappointing since the management regs 1992, when you had the PPE regulation come out, that people are just recognising that we have men and women. So to say that we need to legislate to have PPE for women, we know that's never ever going to happen. So it's as if we're waiting for an accident to occur before they actually take on board. And now that we've got the trans generation, what are we waiting for? So I'm just asking that question really, because I just think 1992, now it's 2024. Is it going to happen before I retire or not?
Yeah, it's a really good question, really good point. John, do you want
to... regulations are there to keep us safe, aren't they? It's about how we use those regulations in businesses. I think you've got more females now working in industries where it used to be male-dominated. So we've got to recognise that, and it's not just the job of the safety guy to recognise that, but it's also a job of management to do that. And when I spoke about management and safety working together, I think that's where it needs to be. But as safety people, we shouldn't be frightened to talk to managers and say, this is a real risk for us. You're going to have an accident here if we don't sort this out. It's a frustration. It is a frustration. There seems to be a lot of blockers for providing the right PPE, and to the gentleman's point at the front here, I was thinking maybe it's about how people order the PPE. We buy lots of generic sizes and just hope it fits, because we get a deal because we buy 50 size extra larges and 10 sizes small because we don't need as many of those. It should really be down to trying to cater for the individual rather than the masses, and then we'll have loads left on the shelves. Well, try and be a bit more specific with your ordering and look at the actual people you're actually ordering the PPE for. But it is the last line of defence, so let's see what else we can do first.
I think I just add to that as well. I think you don't want to get too political, but I think often if we wait for legislation to change, we might be here for some time. So I think it's the proactiveness that I think that RS can bring to the party here as well. So we're in a unique position to bring manufacturers and customers together, and I think the important thing is making product available. I think it's not perfect, but there's actually a surprising amount of PPE out there. I think it's that accessibility that can be quite a challenge. So, part of what we're doing is making sure that, regardless of whether there's change, is about making sure that there's product availability, and going to the lengths of hosting footwear clinics so actually people can try on the protective shoes, etc. So we shouldn't let some of these things hold us back, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Thank you. I don't know if we've got any more questions or anyone else? No? Okay, so to quickly summarise, our Striving for Excellence report has given us some great insight and understanding into what health and safety professionals really think, what their biggest challenges are, and what they need to help them keep people safe at work. If you would like a digital copy of our full Striving for Excellence report, please come and visit us on the RS stand 4/H20, where you can download it and meet our friendly team. So thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.